Hi, this is Dr. Grande. I hope you find this video useful. If that's the case, please like it and subscribe to my channel. And as always, thanks for watching. Well, that's understandable, and I would be inclined to think that you're probably correct there, that when your anxiety is high, that self-talk won't work quite as well, right? Because that emotion is in there,
right?
And it's interfering in this example. However, it probably still would work somewhat.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, that was really, you made a really good point when you said, like, about practicing. I think, like, the more that I said that to myself and reminded myself, before maybe, like you mentioned that earlier, maybe, like, before I got to that point where I'm very intensely worried, I think, like, maybe when the thought first pops into my head, if I told myself that then, I think it would have more of an impact than later on.
All right, so you can see a value in kind of repeating it, repeating that self-talk and recognizing that it's not always going to work perfectly, but it probably will work somewhat and start to work better.
Yeah, I think so.
So that process that we just kind of went through really quickly, I want to break that down and kind of explain what I was doing, because really with CBT, I think what we do here is wonderful and productive. But the real skill, or the real benefit, is when you can take this skill and apply it to situations that I don't know anything about, right? So between sessions, or someday when our time is done, in terms of me being your counselor, I want you to be able to bring these skills back and apply them as needed.
Okay.
So I want to make sure that at points like this, I'm kind of describing what I'm doing so that it becomes reusable.
Okay.
And you can keep applying it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that'd be helpful.
So one part of it is identifying that automatic thought I was talking about.
Okay.
So the automatic thought is just a thought that pops into your mind. You're not responsible for it. It doesn't say anything about you one way or the other. It's just a thought that pops in your mind.
Okay.
It's natural. It happens to everyone. But in the case of automatic thoughts that I'm going to be talking about, they do lead to symptoms.
Okay.
Right. So that's why we're going after them, so to speak. Right. That's why we're not letting them be. We want to engage them and try to prevent them.
Okay.
Try to counter them. So one of the ways to recognize an automatic thought, because that's like the first step, is to be able to detail what the thought is to look for those times when you notice a shift in your mood.
Okay.
So I know you've been anxious a lot lately.
Yeah.
But there's probably points where you're somewhat anxious, and then you get really anxious.
Right.
So let's practice with another one of those. So think of a time, since the incident, since the theft of the car, where you were kind of okay, more or less, like maybe a little anxious, and then your mood just quickly deteriorated.
Yeah. Okay, so it was like a week and a half ago. My family went over to my parents for dinner. And we were enjoying ourselves, like it was almost, back to normal. I was kind of like somewhat relaxed and we were having a good time. And then when people started to leave and I wasn't so occupied, I just noticed like I started to feel anxious. Like I started to notice, and then the kind of like the worry crept in. And I was like really anxious, like, when are we going? Like, we need to get back to the house. But I noticed that like I just felt really uncomfortable. Like, that's what I noticed at first. Like, I felt really uncomfortable. I felt really rushed. Like, we had to get out of there. And I wasn't enjoying myself. Like, my anxiety, everything was kind of, like, heightened.
All right, so not having fun anymore,
right.
Anxiety increased, and this kind of thought, like, I need to get home.
Right, like forebodingness almost.
Okay, it's like a pressure to just get out of
Yes, right.
So if you had to, and I know sometimes thoughts are kind of, written out in language, but sometimes they're also kind of images in your mind. What do you think the thought was that preceded those series of emotions?
I think what I was thinking in the moment was like, we've been gone too long. And the fact that we've been gone too long means that the house was left unattended because all my family was with me. So while we were gone, someone took something from our house.
Okay, so we've been gone too long.
Yeah.
And in that time, somebody's burglarized our
Yeah.
Right. So so the thought so that thought is certainly distressing. The part that stands out is that somebody's in your house.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're kind of minding your own business, going about enjoying yourself, and there's this intrusive thought of somebody's in my house.
Yeah.
Right.